Hi, welcome to the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and my co-host is
Terry Yoffe, and this must be Coaches Creating Change
it.
after a hiatus.
After a big hiatus,
I know,
absolutely.
I know.
Yeah, but we were talking and we said, you know what? Well, we're not back, as you can see. We're zooming like
Right.
everyone else in the world right now. But we decided it is, if not a show now, my gosh, when will we be doing it? Because we are in the middle of change. We're in the middle of chaos. We don't even know what we're in the middle of.
Right.
But we figured this is a good time for a show. And when Terry and I were talking, the one thing that we were in agreement on was that we don't have the answers. We have the questions. Oh boy, do we have the questions, but we don't have the answers. So we thought it might be a good time to sort of work out a few things and see what are the concerns, and just get everybody sort of thinking and finding out where we're going from here, if indeed we know, or how
Right.
we're going to go from here, I guess is a better way.
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, I think, because we don't have the answers. Not that we ever had the answers, but,
True.
it's, as coaches, how do we navigate today's landscape with clients, and what is required of us as we kind of stand or sit in our humanity and being available to clients? What hat do we wear, and what are the parameters for each hat?
Those are the questions that we came up with, and it was like, and I think even before we deal with that, it's like, well, what have we had to change in ourselves because of this, and then how do we adapt? Does that become part of our humanity? I guess it does. But then how do we adapt that to the job that we want to do, which is coaches who are helping other people fulfill their destinies? What's one of the biggest changes, Terry, that you've had since this insanity began?
I think I'm pretty fortunate. So a lot of my clients are employed, actually, most of them. And I have kind of a gambit of young people who are going to look at what are next steps for them in change.
Mhm.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, some older clients that are figuring out where they're going, and they're very different paths for younger people versus older people. And, how do they find a way to make changes when everything is so uncertain and we're almost in a holding pattern in a lot of ways? So it's really, navigating that landscape and figuring out, where do I go next? It's like the coaches, okay, it's meeting a client where they are.
Right.
And
Let me ask you something. Did you have any clients that were on a path that you had already decided, okay, here's where we're going, and then suddenly that path you just stopped? You couldn't go any further? Did you find you had to do that kind of adaptation to your clients?
no,
Great.
no, not really.
Okay, fantastic.
They're each on a path in their company, and where are they going to go is next steps, and looking at how do you jump off of where you are onto some other path when it's very fuzzy.
That's a
How do you,
nice way to put it, yeah.
right, how do you find a job today?
Yeah.
People are hiring, definitely hiring,
Mhm.
but it's a different interviewing process. And I think the people that are hiring are probably not even sure what they're hiring.
Yeah,
Some
that could
thought.
be. And I have a combination. I have people who are still employed, thank heavens, but I have people who are working from home. And that is causing a problem too. It's like they're not really sure what to do. They're creating their own boundaries. They're creating their own schedules, their own discipline, so to speak. So
Right.
that becomes a problem also. So it's just, you did a great, I think it was a blog that called Dancing on Shifting Sands. And the
Yeah.
sand, it's like we're in the middle of a hurricane. The sands are just back and forth and back and forth, and then
Right.
we just don't know
Right.
where it's going. So what have you done in a personal level to adapt to all this?
Interesting. So for me, I continue to work, and I think at the beginning of the year, one of my focuses for myself was to do podcasts and to do, I don't know, I was thinking, very maybe unrealistically of doing TED Talk or something to get my voice out there. And it turned out that one of my former clients and client I still work with has a company, and she started a women's group and asked myself and another coach to do some big Zoom calls for the members of that group on um, on executive coaching. So that was one thing that happened
Wow.
exponentially, and the other was I'm now doing some podcasts for them.
So this became an opportunity for you. How
It
cool.
did. So one thing, the other is I walk every day. I
Mhm.
go out and do 2 to 4 mile walks every day when possible. It's getting a little warm, so I can't,
Mhm.
because I need to. I think like us, I need to have some sanity, and
Yes.
that's the way that I do it. Plus other things I'm doing. I Zoom with a trainer. I'm trying to keep my life as normal as possible. I go out. I do things for myself that I would normally do.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to keep some normalcy of a routine in place.
On a personal level, I find that
What do you?
I'm
Yeah.
doing for myself things I wouldn't do, things I wouldn't have time to do.
Mm,
I've signed up for a couple of classes that I was always interested in, but it was like, yeah, when I get the time. Well, there's no excuse. I have the
mm,
time now, because what time that I would have spent going out, and that's not there anymore. So I'm doing that. I'm doing a little bit of social enrichment on a physical level. I am not happy with what I'm doing, and I'm in constant search. I am doing Zooming with my health club and things like that, but I don't like it, and I don't do it all the time. So I'm looking for something to do there and seeing, well,
mm.
how can I use this as an opportunity? So after this, you can coach me on that. But
I would love to. No,
yeah.
no question. Yeah. And yeah, I'm also listening to, ICF does webinars, or the Institute of Coaching, which I'm a member of, does webinars. So I am listening to a lot of teleclasses, webinars, Zoom calls on what's going on in the coaching arena, what's happening.
Right.
That's so that I can bring some of that knowledge to my clients and, sound a little intelligent on that level. um, it's every day, simple thing. I think going to the grocery store is now an adventure.
Seriously, it's like,
It
and
is.
I'm coordinating my mask with my outfits, and it's like, yeah, I'm really getting into it now. It's like, okay. But do you
Wow.
feel? I know it's a little. When I do it, it's like, oh, that's a little sick. But do you feel that you should be doing more? Because I have that nagging feeling. It's like I have all this time now, and God bless, I am still working. Hallelujah, and probably at a
Right.
bigger level than I was
Mm.
before. Um, but I keep thinking I should be using this time for something really, really worthwhile. But I have that. It's always in the back of my head. Do you have that feeling?
Um, Not really, because I feel I've made some changes to where I put my website. So now I will be tackling with someone, a partner, in how do I upgrade it. I think at some point I'm going to go back to our podcast idea.
Right. We did talk about that.
Yeah. Doing that. Maybe starting to write more blogs, which I haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what else, at this point. I'm not trying to overload my brain. I think just trying to stay centered. At one time I did a Buddhist retreat many years ago. And when I go out on my walk, sometimes I'll pretend I'm at that Buddhist retreat, because it was a silent Buddhist retreat. You couldn't talk.
Wow.
For a week.
Right.
And trying to tap into the parts of me that give me an opportunity to be centered and not to plug into everything going around me. That doesn't help my sanity or my health, which I have to watch carefully.
I think you may have tapped into gold. This is an excellent opportunity to tap into, I'm going to use your words again, an excellent opportunity to tap into different parts of yourself, parts that you may have neglected, like the physical part, mental, that you didn't have time to do, spiritual, if you're going to do some meditation. And you don't have to do them all at once, but I'm thinking if you just take one and say, okay, next week I'm going to write a blog. I'm going to write a blog and learn how to put it on my website. Just one task a week where you can go, okay, I have advanced from A to B and then from B to C. So that might be a great coping mechanism as well as a move forward mechanism. That might be, I think that might be one of the golden rules. If we come up with golden rules, that would be one for me. It would be like tap into something that you about yourself. You don't need anybody else to do it, because there are a lot of people who are isolated, and it's like, so what are you going to do in that time? So
that's yes. And even with clients, what's one thing, when I speak with them, what's one thing you can do this week? You're not going to ask them to climb Mount Everest, but if they could just find one molehill that they could tackle each week, that so they're not in overwhelm, that they can do that makes them feel good and not lost or in despair, because there is an underlying community of vulnerability and even low-grade depression. I mean, I know Michelle Obama talked about it, but and brought it up, but I think that there is an underlying thread of how everyone is feeling today.
And I think it comes and it goes, because there are some days I'll get up and go, yeah, I'm so glad I have all this time, and thank heavens I've got so much to do. And then some days I'll get up and it's not the same. It's like, I'm so tired of doing the same thing over and over again. And I think we've got to, when you say sit in our humanity, what do you mean?
I'll give you my interpretation,
okay.
Which is we're all human, and there are parts of us, empathy, caring, kindness, those parts that under normal, whatever normal was, conditions, we may not have tapped into as readily. Even leaders today, if you read anything about leadership today, it's about shifting gears and taking a different approach. It's, tapping into awareness of the vulnerability. tapping into what's going on with your teams, your employees. They're working from home. How are you connecting with them? And companies are having to let people go.
Yeah.
So they're not doing it in person. They're doing it on Zoom calls, or on a telephone. So how do you do that task in a human way?
Mm.
And also being humble, humility,
Yeah.
being in our humanity and being in our humility more than ever.
It's interesting because I think this whole pandemic and then it has made us more conscious of our priorities and perhaps reevaluated them and shifted them a little, because what used to be important, my priority was, oh, I've got to see a Broadway play at least once a month. Why am I in New York City if not? Now that's not an option. So it's like, and how important was that? I'm still alive. I'm still working. I'm still, it was important to me at the time, but it was not essential. So I think we're redefining what's essential. And would I kill to see a Broadway play right now? Yeah, and eat in a restaurant? Yeah, but that's not the priority right now. And I think that's another adjustment for business leaders as well as individuals. It's like, okay, my priorities have changed. That probably your company's priorities haven't changed. You can notice the companies that used to, what was it? There's one company that was an alcoholic beverage company, and because they couldn't open the bar, so they went into hand sanitizers. So, I mean, it's really thinking out of the box. And it's, I noticed the gas station where I go, he has a whole counter of PPE, of things to do. Everybody's adapting to the times.
Exactly. That's so true.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's out of the box and flexibility. Boy, it's flexibility of, if you don't have it, you need to work on it, because it's needed now.
Exactly. Key is flexibility, adaptability, being resilient, being able to pivot at any given moment, and being willing to reside outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because now's not the time, even though we want to crawl into bed and put the covers over our head to feel that security blanket. It's about being out there in new ways, everyone is feeling this community vulnerability. So it's not like you're alone. And it's about creating change in a way that moves forwards the action and deepens the learning for our clients, if you will, and for ourselves. If we're not changing, we can't, as coaches, ethically talk about helping our clients change.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so this is a time, if I were to be philosophical,
please be.
about self-reflection. Like you said, we are forced to be in isolation, so to speak. And whereas before you could had distractions. Oh, I can go to the show. I can go to the movies. I can go out to eat. I can, meet friends. Well, none of that is really available today. So we are left with our own reflections. And we were so used to, I'm going to dinner. I'm going to the movies. I'm going to, like you said, no problem. It's like we were cut off at the knees in a way. And here we are, not having any of that really available to us. And we're left to our own thoughts. And what do we need to pare down? What do we need to change to help us move forward in whatever that new landscape is going to look like?
And I think that's where coaches are going to come into play. I agree with you because especially in New York City, you are bombarded with stimulation that you don't even create. But now it's a whole different game. And it's like, and if you look at it as an opportunity, which you always try to do if you can, it's an opportunity to really, like you say, get to know yourself, get to know what is it that you really want? What is it that you haven't been doing that you could be doing? What should you stop doing? You know, what is getting you where you want to go? And where do you want to go in this new environment that we have? Or is it a matter of survival? And that's okay too. If you're just trying to get through and survive, we're talking, you know, if you're talking someone who's been out of work for 4 months, 5 months, it's a whole different game than someone who's working.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
their priority is not going to be getting a coach because they're not going to have the money. But I love the idea of your podcast because that's a way to reach people. Your blogs are a way to reach people. I have a television show, which you helped me with, and then I also have a radio show. There are ways that you can reach people that they don't have to pay, and still help them. And I think we have to keep that in mind because I think the role of coaches is not only advancement, but I think it also might be resilience, like you said, but I think survival. I think in some cases people are in survival mode. You know, how are we going to get through this? Could be just mentally, you know, or it could be real. How am I going to put food on the table? But either way, I think coaches are being called, they're being summoned to, let's do our thing. This is what we've been saying we wanted to do. So.
And it's also, as coaches, being able and willing to shift gears, to step into whatever role the client is asking of us. Whereas that might not have been what was expected of us 5 months ago, 6 months ago. It is today, at least from my perspective. And if you haven't found the space within yourself to shift gears and you're stuck in one gear and that's all you're bringing to a client, you're not serving them today. And anyway.
And I like what you said. It's like you have to meet the client where the client is. And it could be this week they're here, and then next week it's like, oh, they fell into a funk. But you've got to shift with them, you know, because these are unprecedented times. We've never done this before. Nobody has, you know. Maybe in 1918, but they're not our clients.
So, exactly. It says we're sailing in uncharted territory. Really, that's what we're doing. We are being forced to set sails in uncertainty, unpredictability, whereas we're used to, on some level, a very solid ground. And when there is no solid ground, again, you have to learn to, you know, that blog was years ago and it's very relevant. I may even dust it off, change it, and put it up again. Dancing on shifting sands. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And it's like, I think if we were going to give people advice in the next 4 minutes that we have, or not advice, well, maybe tips, I guess. I think one would be just accept where you are and then see how you can get to where you want to be. And if you don't know where you want to be, then how can you make where you are progressive and helpful to you? If that means, I guess I don't like those words, but yeah, I would say flexibility. Just it's like you gotta go with what it is and hopefully move forward.
Here's one thing that I tell clients, and I did on the Zoom calls. it's about getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Ah, yes, absolutely.
That would be the one thing that I would leave with coaches and tell clients. It's about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's not going to change today.
No, and we can't predict when it will.
No.
So rather than torture ourselves and go, oh, I really want to go to a play. What's up with this?
Right.
What else can you do? It's like, well, how can you make something else stimulate you the same way? It's like
Right.
you got to step out of that comfort zone because
Right. Pivoting.
yeah, pivoting and dancing, whatever it takes to get you where you're
Exactly.
going. I think what I would say also would be, and I'm so sick of hearing this phrase, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's true, we are all in this together, but that means nothing if you're not going to have compassion and empathy for your fellow man. And I'm sure you've noticed while you're walking your 4 miles,
Right.
people are cranky out there and they're scared out there. And tempers are short. And it's like, when I encounter that, it's like, okay, I got you. I can be just as mad as you are anytime. But
Right.
it's like, all right, I understand I have something on my refrigerator that this says, everybody can be a little kinder. Everybody can use more kindness. Right now, you got to be gentle with yourself. You have to be gentle with others too. We're all in this together, and we're all going through. You just don't know what people are going through, so you have to be aware of that.
And we're all in this together, yet we're we're all different in where we are in this togetherness or lack of togetherness.
Yeah.
You know, each one of us is at a different level.
And if you can, absolutely. And if you're a little bit advanced today, then reach back and get somebody else, call a person that might be feeling down. We can still call, we can still email, we can still do all of that stuff. So, but I think I think awareness, I like awareness and I like a reflection. And I like humanity. It is, we're a part of it all and we all have a role to play.
Right.
And hopefully what you and I are doing is like, okay, we're not giving any rock solid advice, but we're letting everybody know it's okay and there are ways to cope. And we're going to delve into that in our next show too. We've got like 30 seconds left. Do you have any last minute anything?
Oh, it's wonderful to see you, Laurie, again.
You too.
And I'm looking forward to our next Coaches Creating Change. Terry Yoffe here, wishing everyone safe passage.
Yeah,
be well.
Times. Be well.
Yes.
That's all. Be well and be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And we're going to be back in 2 weeks if this new Zoom thing works, and we'll let you know. Take care, everybody.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.